The world within these walls was inconceivable. A horror house of sexual abuse and international sex trafficking.
I was abused by people that I can't even mention here. There's a lot of scars hidden behind those walls.
Tell me swear the testimony you're about to give away the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you get.
Yes, I do.
Jeffrey Epstein led a privileged life. His extraordinary wealth on show around the world. He had his own fleet of planes, a private island, ranches and mansions in New Mexico, New York and Paris. But in private, Epstein had a dark and insatiable sexual appetite for young girls. An obsession he shared with like-minded wealthy and powerful friends.
The people that were involved with Jeffrey Epstein included some of the richest and most politically powerful people in the world.
Did Jeff know anybody's real true age, or he didn't care?
I don't think he cared. He told me the younger the better.
These are just some of the girls from Palm Beach who were lured into Epstein's evil web.
He asked me to take my shirt off, so I took my shirt off.
Their young voices retelling a police officer of chillingly similar encounters with the businessman.
He started getting a little excited about it, and he started touching himself.
Despite these girls' testimony in 2005, Jeffrey Epstein would go on to abuse and scar countless more young girls. That he got away with it is a disgrace. How he did so is even worse.
Why did this man get to continue to roam the streets freely and sexually abuse other young girls when you knew what he was doing? This was no secret.
Jeffrey Epstein was a man made of money, worth nearly $1 billion. But with friends in high places, he was not only wealthy, but extraordinarily influential. He was a sex trafficker, a sex abuser, and he was virtually untouchable. Within 9 months of meeting Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, Virginia was being flown halfway around the world to have sex with Epstein's wealthy associates. A little girl amongst a sea of men.
I was a baby stuck in a world where grown-ups were allowed to do whatever they wanted, and I was lost.
And were you trafficked that night?
Yeah, I was trafficked that night.
And so began Virginia's new life, still on call for Epstein, but also for any friend he chose.
I was trafficked to other billionaires. I was trafficked to politicians, professors, even royalty. It was the elite of the world. It was the people who run the world. It was the most powerful people in the world.
Why do you think Epstein did that to you?
He used me as a form of blackmail. So, you know, these people would owe him favors. So he wanted to always have something on someone just in case he needed it.
Virginia has named the men she was trafficked to in documents lodged with the courts. The name that has caused the greatest splash is Prince Andrew. The pair captured in this now infamous photograph taken in 2001. So as you know, Prince Andrew denies the allegations against him, and he says that this photo is a fake, that he was never there, and that he's not his arm, and they're not his fingers.
Those are his fingers. That is Andrew. This photo has been verified as an original, and it's been since given to the FBI, and they've never contested that it's a fake. And I know it's real. And he needs to stop with all of these lame excuses. We're sick of hearing it.
Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell took the 17-year-old Virginia to London to party with Prince Andrew.
Then we went to Club Tramp, and he danced with me, and he sweats a lot, and he smells funny. And then we get in the car, and Ghislaine tells me in the car that I have to do what I do for Jeffrey for Prince Andrew. And that's when I learned what was going to happen.
How many times were you trafficked to him?
3 times.
The final time Virginia was trafficked to Prince Andrew was here on Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. Was it just you and him at that time?
No, there were a lot of younger girls with us.
How many young women with you that day or night?
I believe there were 8.
Did you have any conversations with Prince Andrew during these encounters?
Not really. You're not even acknowledged as being alive or there or important or cared for or worried about in any way. None of those human emotions were attached to me when I was trafficked to Prince Andrew.
What about your emotions when you learnt, after the first time that it was to happen a second time and then it was to happen a third time? What was your reaction to that?
Disgusted every time. Just absolutely disgusted. There wasn't one time that I was trafficked to any individual that I thought, oh, he's an okay guy. No, I was always disgusted that there were so many people involved in this highly organized sex trafficking operation.
Prince Andrew
Yes.
denies Virginia's allegations.
Prince Andrew says he was unaware of the sex trafficking, but he spent days in Epstein's New York mansion where the sex trafficking was rampant. You could not spend time there and not know what was going on.
Why did you keep going back if you didn't want to go back?
I was scared.
Jeffrey Epstein could have been stopped a decade and a half ago.
I didn't know what to do. I was afraid that he was going to harm my family.
His murky massage ruse, enabled by inducement and intimidation, was uncovered when a 14-year-old victim finally told her parents about the abuse.
He made threats that things would happen if I told him first.
For this alone, he could and should have been sent to jail for life. But no one counted on the reach of Epstein's influence.
We had no idea who this person was at the time, anything about him. We advised her that she needed to go to police and to tell her story to police.
It wasn't just one girl. In the end, they had testimony from 40 victims, whose average age ranged from 13 to 16.
We were able to amass a whole wealth of evidence. We knew it all.
Amongst them were damning message pads, clearly showing a trade in young girls, scheduling them for massage appointments. As well, flight logs showing girls being transported aboard Jeffrey's private plane, dubbed the Lolita Express. As compelling as the case was, Epstein fought back, using intimidation as his main weapon.
You had multiple people that were out there really digging up dirt on not only the victims, but also the lawyers, the police, everyone involved.
Have you ever come across something like that before?
Never.
Getting investigators to investigate the investigators?
Everybody, yep.
Did it work? Did he scare people away?
Yeah, it definitely worked.
But ultimately, there was too much evidence for authorities to ignore. They had to act. But Epstein, with an army of lawyers, negotiated a slap on the wrist and a slap in the face for victims. Instead of admitting to child sex abuse, Epstein agreed to plead guilty to a lesser charge of soliciting a minor for prostitution, and in 2008 was sentenced to a mere 18 months in a Florida jail.
They basically turned victims into prostitutes. These were girls with absolutely no history and no past. To brand them that in a plea with him was just, for lack of a better term, disgusting.
He was a pedophile, accusing his victims of being prostitutes. He turned the tables completely.
Absolutely.
He lived the high life but died in disgrace.
Just a month later, for the final time, Epstein proved he would not be held accountable for his terrible crimes, found dead by suicide in his jail cell. But how he managed that in such a place is a mystery. His shocked death raising suspicions he was a man who knew too much.
It's incomprehensible to me how the American prison system could, with probably its highest profile prisoner, take him off suicide watch, remove his cellmate, not have the guards look in on him. Somehow the cameras are turned off. That's just incomprehensible. On the other hand, it's inconceivable to me that somebody could have penetrated the prison and actually killed him.
Do you believe that if he had lived, that the justice system would have been able to hold him?
Yes. No, absolutely. And the reason I think that suicide is plausible is that I think he knew that the jig was up. He was going to jail, and he was going to jail for a very long time.
Ghislaine Maxwell was a London socialite and daughter of disgraced media baron Robert Maxwell. On her father's death, she moved to Manhattan to join her boyfriend, Jeffrey Epstein, and according to lawyer Sigrid McCauley, soon became his full partner in the sex trafficking ring.
Certainly, I would like to see her being held criminally accountable for what she did. She was an adult. She was an active participant. She facilitated it for years and years. She took money from it.
The other person who has gone to ground is Jean-Luc Brunel, the French model agent who is also accused of sexual abuse and supplying Epstein with underage models who were conveniently housed in and trafficked from this New York apartment block, not far from the mansion. This apartment block, he just had women on tap. He had girls on tap.
He had girls on tap. Jeffrey told me that he has slept with over 1,000 of Jean-Luc Brunel's models/victims.
And you believe that?
I do.
Virginia's lawyer, David Boys, says amongst the well-heeled and well-connected here in New York, nerves should be running high.
If I were one of those people, I wouldn't sleep well because it's going to all come out. And you don't know when. And you don't know how. But you've got to worry that somebody's going to talk.
And certainly there is more legal action to come.
There will be lawsuits against his estate. There will be lawsuits against the enablers. And hopefully there will be criminal prosecutions that will help vindicate them. So I think all of those avenues remain. And we are pursuing those literally as we speak.
Jeffrey Epstein's death is not the end of the story. There are so many others who still need to be held to account. And so many other victims suffering in silence. Virginia has set up a foundation to reach those wounded women and children and to ultimately stop sex trafficking.